completely unnecessary war. Take a look.
We know with absolute certainty that he is using his procurement system to acquire the equipment he needs in order to enrich uranium to build a nuclear weapon. We believe he has, in fact, reconstituted nuclear weapons. I really do believe we will be greeted as liberators. We learn more and more that there was a relationship between Iraq and al-Qaeda that stretched back through most of the decade of the 90s, that it involved training, for example, on BW and CW, that al-Qaeda sent personnel to Baghdad to get trained on those systems, and involved the Iraqis providing bomb-making expertise and advice to the al-Qaeda organization.
Howard, where do you learn to be that evil? I mean, that guy sat there and brilliantly conspired. He had Judy Miller writing the stories for the weekend with Scooter feeding her the stuff, gets a time so he gets a get, they're going to meet the press, does the alley-oop play, acts so avuncular, so sure of himself in his presentation that a lot of middle-of-the-road people bought it.
Just watching that again, Chris, was both infuriating and upsetting. We lived through that time. We were lied to, flat out lied to in that way. And for him to say that the president is appointing second-raters, that was first-rate bilge. Okay. I can't say more. If that's what first-rate is, I'll take the second-rate.
Joan, his avuncular fashion, that we now know, that bonding he did with the viewer. I know the trick even. It was almost criminal. We now know, talking to whoever he's talking to at the anchor desk there, establishing a kind of bond among those reasonable people, all the time pushing this bilge, all the time pushing stuff that he had conspired with his chief of staff and his whatever his press wing was at the time to feed into the New York Times, feed into the national news, so that after a while people say he can't be lying all the time and coming up with great phrases like weapons of mass destruction and intermingling those with either chemical or biological, or occasionally throwing in the fact that they've got some balsa wood airplane that's going to fly over here with a nuclear bomb and drop it in Washington. Anything that would get that war started, they were willing to say, including sending General Powell out there with his mission at the UN.
It's such an ugly legacy, Chris. But, we've been talking about this for 4 years, 5 years now.
Why is he still talking? Why does he still have an audience in this country on the right?
Well, actually, I want to look on the bright side here, because it used to be that his every utterance was national news, and he literally faxed a press release to Politico, and they printed it a couple of years ago, trashing the president.
I remember that, how he used to feed Politico that way.
He's done that over and over. But now, there he is. He's just with his home state Republican Party, where he kind of belongs. And I also want to point out that his two home state Republican senators voted for John Kerry, so they don't agree with him that he's a second-rate person. He really doesn't have the kind of power that he had before. He's been fully discredited, and yet, yes, we are still going to talk about it when he says things like this, because it's so ridiculous to be trashing this president all these years later when he's had a stellar record on foreign policy and national security.
These Babbitts that sit in the audience for people like him.
Well,
these burgers. You can just see them from the Rotary Club going very polite, oh, ho, ho. I can just hear the audience. Excellent point. Well put, Vice President. This second rate. Of course, they all agree they would never approve these people out there. Wyoming doesn't deserve this guy.
Well,
it's a beautiful state.
I think that maybe Dick Cheney has a case of drone envy here.
Yeah.